Are we live?
Yes, we are.
Hey, hello and welcome to, I believe, episode 8 of Cyberpunk 2049 Solid State Society. Tonight's session is going to be slightly different. We have Yin with us, and it'll be a sidebar kind of sorts after the grueling night she faced with her compatriots in making sure that Mr. Sachs's property was returned and Neuro was saved. At the end of last session, Yin, her brother Yang, and Val were able to successfully retrieve the equipment and the additional copy of whatever the software was that Mr. Sachs wanted protected and basically was trying to buy from an unknown party. And they were able to successfully get it out of the wrong people's hands. And at the end of the session, Val was driving them away from the scene of the crime. As that night comes to a close, Val drops off Yin to whatever destination she wanted to be dropped off to, as well as Yang, before Val drives off into the night. We now pick up the story from Yin's perspective after that fateful mission and that long night. As the camera pans and zooms over Icarus One, it tries to locate Yin, and this all-seeing eye of ours knows that if she's not on the streets or on a mission, then she must be in one of her safe houses, and the one safe house she always frequents is her drug den. The camera starts zooming in on the location, and next thing you know, we are one of Yin's hideouts. Go ahead, Yin.
So, as Val drives up in black coffee with Ian in the passenger seat, once they arrive to her den of choice this evening, she gets out of the car, gently closes the door, and gives Val a slight wave as she's dropped off. She hides her exhaustion as she walks to the doors of the den. As she opens the door, a cloud of smoke billows out into the street. Her eyes narrow at the sight, slightly annoyed that people were still in her place. She walks downstairs and sees a few lazy bodies lying around the place, lying over her beds, over a couch, large pillow. Any comfy space is taken up at this point. They were her friends, her regulars. They really just came to her space to get high. She reminded herself to change the electronic locks before the week was up, as they all had a code, unfortunately. Ian walks around the room, kicking and jostling everyone inside. Out! Get the fuck out! You're done here. There were groans of protest, but eventually all the addicts filed out. She had to push away a few grabby hands here and there. She was too tired for that anyway. She walks to the vent control where the aerated Buddha's Delight was programmed. She adjusts the percentage of drug to oxygen ratio within the room, turning the drug portion down by about half. That was a good time as any. As if there's another in the room, Yin just starts speaking to herself. Everything is more complicated now. Before this damn mission, all I really cared about was completing the job, making sure the Goto Corporation was happy with my work. I trusted they would eventually unleash me upon my father. And why? Why has it been 3.5 years? And no word of planning an attack upon father. I'm antsy. I'm on his head now. But no. I must wait. They say, bide my time. They say, train. They say, bend the knee, and we will care for you, but I know. I've been upping my dosage. I just know it. Every time I go in for routine maintenance on this inhaler shit, Ian rips off a rebreather and casts it down to the bed angrily. It always hits me harder when I put it back on. Take a deep breath. I wonder how it's changed me. How sick it's made me. I don't think I can keep on like this. And Ian strips off her clothes and goes for a shower, washing off the blood of the worthless knuckle-dragger gang. The lukewarm water, as hot as it really goes in this place, was pleasing to her skin, though it did leave her shivering slightly. She sits down on the rusted porcelain of the tub, not really caring about his lack of washing for many months. She presses her legs to her chest, holding them close for comfort. She placed her chin on her knee and enjoyed the water beating down on the top of her head and back. This was her comfort space. Here, nothing could get her. Here she could feel open, vulnerable. Gives me the best options. He also wants me to destroy Father, but I think for other reasons. I'm happy he's more accelerated planner. So it seems, but marrying the man I left. I don't know. And detoxing? I'm unsure as I could ever detox. Part of me never really wants to. I'm afraid of who or what I'll be when I'm off of it. Will I be docile? Will I go completely insane? Will I want to go running back to Father and beg for his forgiveness? I don't know. Everything is dulled on these inhalants. I am hyper aware, but my memories are swimming almost in a thick fog of soup. They're cloudy. That's how I like them. Only when I truly focus on them do I see them again. And they hurt. Everything I did to my brother, everything Father did to me, everything my mother didn't do. And Yotaro, how can he accept me again after I just left him? How do I believe my brother when he says that he's been looking for me? It's just blind faith at this point. Shall I use him like others have used me? I don't know. But if Hiro thinks it's a good idea, maybe I should try it. I can't do it on my own anymore. No, I'm weak. Weak and pathetic. Maybe if I can keep impressing Mr. Sachs, I can pull in more jobs, get more money. Hiro says he needs the money to fund the takeover of her father's company or some crap like that, I don't know. And Sachs seems to like what I do. Might as well do what I can for him. I want to impress him. Oh, Hiro, you have complicated my fucking life. again. That's... I'm hoping maybe you'll help me save it too. And Ian eventually showers herself off, running the water till the boiler was empty. She shivers as she walks, still damp, back to her bed. She lays down on the sheets and buries herself in the multitude of pillows that surrounded her. And finally, around 6 a.m., she finally falls asleep, exhausted by the night activities. Her dreams are more chaotic than normal, just with everything that's been going on, with seeing Hio again, multiple people from her past dredged up. It's a bit too much for her mind, but eventually she wakes up and, taking out her comm pad, checks the time. It's about maybe 8 p.m. It's hard for her to see at this point. Her eyes are a bit blurry. She knows what she must do at this point. She sits up, headache starting to set in from the lack of drug flow in the area. It's something she's definitely not used to at this point. She rubs her temple a little bit before scrolling through her comm pad, finding the contact that originally contacted her regarding Mr. Sachs.
As Ian puts the call through, the phone line rings for a while before it's picked up. And a voice that she knows is not Mr. Sachs, but possibly belonging to one of his assistants. Miss Yin.
Hi there. I would like to arrange a meeting with Mr. Sachs if possible. I've got some more information that might be of interest.
Indeed. Give me a moment while I check his schedule. And you can hear some typing in the background. Ah, yes. He is free tonight. Would you be able to come to the Saxon Trombone around midnight?
I will be there. Thank you.
Excellent. Have a good evening, Miss Yin.
You too. And Ian hangs up her comm pad and walks back to the ventilation controls, turning it up slightly, not being able to take 50% effectiveness. And for the next couple hours before she times herself to leave, she just kind of lays in bed, staring at the ceiling, going over all that has happened over the past day, really.
As the time approaches, Ian gets up from her bed and heads out into the cold night. Eventually she finds herself back in the foyer of the Saxon Trombone. And she sees the familiar face again, one of his assistants behind the bar. The place is a little emptier tonight than usual. There are a few people just milling about, listening to some music. Somebody's playing on the stage. Ah, Miss Yin. Are you here to meet Mr. Sachs?
And Yin, wearing her usual rebreather, just nods and... Yes, that is what I am here for.
Excellent. Let me see if he's free to make sure, and I'll come back to get you. Please wait here. And he kind of makes his way up. He's gone for barely a couple of minutes and comes down. Miss Sachs, if you would follow me, please.
Thank you. She'll accompany the assistant.
He takes you up those familiar stairs and you're back in Mr. Sachs's private office. Yeah. Miss Yin, it is
Good evening.
a pleasure to see you again so soon. I was not expecting that.
No, my apologies for intruding so soon. I have some additional information that you might like to be informed of regarding this gang who attempted to steal your technology.
Oh, well, I'm all ears.
Did we take any of the tech with us?
Yes.
I think.
In though you guys were hurrying out and we kind of didn't say that, but Yin and Yang are professional enough to have taken the tech. It looked like a big setup, and it was, but it collapses pretty quickly as you pack it up and take it.
I'm assuming it's like she can carry it.
Yeah,
like a little travel case. Yeah. So Yin will slide into the empty seat across from Mr. Sachs and take this suitcase and put it on the table. This was found at a alternate location that we ventured to after we ended the lives of the Knuckle Dragger gang in that industrial complex.
What does the equipment do? Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Forgive me, Miss Yin. My manners are reproachful. And he kind of raises his hand and signals. The assistant from behind the bar comes over, places a glass of water, knowing that that's what you generally take. He also places glass like what looks like whiskey of some sort, and makes his way back. I'm sorry. Now that libations are provided, can you please explain to me what it is that this equipment does? And how was it used?
And Yin nods, and she takes off her rebreather mask, putting it on the table before taking a drink and placing the water back down on the table. Yes, we had tracked this thanks to Neuro, this off-site location that they seem to be funneling data to. We didn't think much of it, which is why we returned here quickly after securing the original package and finding Neuro, returning that one before going to the secondary location. This technology looked to be attempting to duplicate the program in the original box. They seem to be very close to success, but due to our efforts at the complex, they only got to about 95%.
Mr. Sachs listens to you very intently and then kind of sits back. So you mean to tell me that you have equipment that allows remote access and copy of a highly encrypted software without manipulating it? And not only that, you also retrieved an almost complete copy of the software that I was trying to obtain from a... And he kind of stops himself from saying anything more, but... Miss Yin, you did this all by yourself.
As much as I would love to take credit for the entire thing, I did have assistance from a few others.
Not only did you take initiative, you are resourceful as well.
Yes, fortunately, I do have some excellent connections.
He can see him for a moment, he's staring at you, and then you can see like his gaze kind of wander off. It's now kind of directed up at the ceiling, like behind your right shoulder. And you can see that he's lost in thought. And he sits like that for a couple of minutes, almost like 5 minutes. For you it's way too long because you're trying to see what he's going to say next. And he's just sitting there and thinking, not saying a word, not moving. The drink is untouched. The music's playing in the background. The guards standing there unflinching. Your senses heighten. You can hear his assistant in the back. He's kind of putting some glassware away. The room is quiet except for the music. It seems eternity before Mr. Sachs looks directly at you. Miss Yin, would you care for a stroll?
And Yina's a little bit taken aback, kind of like the break in silence and the staring. And kind of blinks a little bit. Yes, a stroll would be good, yes.
Excellent. Follow me. And he gets up from his seat and starts walking towards the back of the room, and as you see him walking there, you can see that there's an elevator that was not very clear from your vantage point. As he moves past his guard, the guard starts stepping out and trying to follow him. Mr. Sachs says, "That won't be necessary tonight. I believe I am well protected." And he kind of looks at you.
And Yin gets back up. She just kind of look back down at the rebreather there before turning back to Mr. Sachs and leaving it there and quickly following on his heels.
He gets into the elevator, doesn't say a word. You can see that he hits the topmost button. The elevator starts, the doors close and starts sliding up. You can see the music recede into the background. And before you know it, you are on the roof of the building.
And Yin steps out of the elevator, looking around, looking out at the city. Just kind of taking it all in, being up this high. It's been a long time since she's been in a building this tall. And she looks back to Mr. Sachs. What are we doing up here, if you don't mind me asking?
Not at all, Miss Yen. You see, I often come up here when I want to get perspective. It helps. See, when you operate on the streets, you kind of develop what I call tunnel vision. You understand what I mean?
She nods. Yes, I understand.
Life becomes one mission after the other, one hustle after the other, one con after the other. And soon you miss the forest for the trees, or I forget how the expression goes, but you see where I'm going with this.
Yes, I, I do.
In my line of work, it is not very often I meet, and please pardon my expression, it is the total package. I find you someone who can handle herself, develop contacts, get the mission done, and then go above and beyond it. Am I mistaken in my assessment?
Yin just shakes her head. No, it very much sounds like things that are within my capabilities. Yes.
And I think this is all underpinned by the most important quality I always seek for in the people I work with: loyalty. You could have taken this equipment to anybody else in Icarus One, sold it for yourself. You could have taken the software, hawked it, created chaos. And you would be in every right to do that because it was unknown to me, it was not part of our deal, but you chose to bring it to me. May I ask why?
Well, and she kind of looks away from Mr. Sachs back out into the city. Just has her eyes just kind of on the horizon there, it's at the tips of all the other buildings. I do not like to double cross people. It is not good for business and it is not good for my own health. I greatly value and pride my skills and my abilities to get the job done. Therefore, in my mind, handing off this technology to someone else would be both dishonorable and not getting the job done. This above and beyond, you say. I am extremely flattered, but honestly, to me, it was just an extension of the original job. We found more of the gang members within the building where they were copying the software. And let me tell you that they are all very much dead. There will be no more knuckle draggers, at least not with that name. Especially because they will be attempting to hopefully hunt down where their leader originally found out the information about your package and why exactly they came for us yesterday night in the alleyway. She seems kind of more irritated about that last part, them coming for them in the alleyway. I should have seen it coming. I should have seen the ambush, but I didn't. And those who were involved, I will make them pay. She looks back to Mr. Sachs with more of a hard look. You deeply, deeply flatter me, Mr. Sachs, but I just count this as the job. I was doing what you asked of me.
Mr. Sachs, you can see, is looking at you with stunned silence. He looks up. You can see he's looking up at the sky and he has this faint smile on his face and he looks down. A professional. Pardon my language, but a fucking professional in Icarus One. I've sifted through the muck, the grime, the trash of the city looking for a professional I can depend on. I think my search is over, Miss Yin. And he's now looking directly at you. His eyes are locked with yours.
And Yin just kind of experiencing that, locking eyes with her, she looks away, looks down, very much kind of cowed by looking straight at her. And she kind of wraps her arms around herself a little bit. I don't know what to say, Mr. Sachs. I am deeply honored by your words.
Miss Yin, I would like to formally invite you to my real organization. What you see downstairs is a front that I must maintain such that me and the organization I work for truly operate in the shadows. You understand what I mean?
And she'll nod very quickly. Of course. Yes.
You might have heard rumors on the street, and we tried to keep them as rumors, and now he's smiling. He basically flips something towards you. Looks like a metallic object, a large medallion. You can clearly see it in the light. It has a shine to it, like a titanium burnished shine. You're easily able to catch it in your hand. You look at it in the palm of your hand, and it looks like that. That's the symbol of our organization, Messian. We might be known on the street, and we call ourselves the same. We're known as the Chakravyur.
She kind of takes her finger and traces the intricacies of the medallion. And you want to invite me to your organization?
Yes, Monsieur. We are a group of professionals seeking to project our will on Icarus One and beyond. But as other mega corporations do it publicly, our approach is a little more, how do I put it, subtle. And he smiles. You see, when you're working in the shadows, you have absolute freedom as long as you're in the shadows. As long as you can misdirect, misinform. It allows you to misbehave. And he smiles fully when he says that. And I believe you are someone, while professional, enjoys these moments of misbehavior.
Yin continuing to kind of slide her thumb over the medallion. She smiles very widely, looking back to Mr. Sachs, and lolls her head to one side. Yes, I do appreciate the things that I can do in the shadows. And those that I can maim while within them.
Excellent. See, when I look at Icarus One, I see a system. It is built on rules, it has its regulations, it has its gangs, it has its megacorps. Each vying for a piece of the pie, each wanting to be top dog. But Miss Yin, I find the one thing they all lack is vision, true, long-term vision. There are changes coming in Icarus One. Many of these megacorps are on the cusp of great discoveries, but they lack the will and the tenacity to mold these marvels of technology. They will do so individually, in fragments. No, my organization has a vision for the future, and we work in the shadows to bring these marvels together, launch them in phases, even if its parent corporation does not realize it. Mold humanity in the way we want to mold it. Do you see where I'm going with this, Miss Yin?
I do, Mr. Sachs. But how would you want me to fit in with all of this? And what exactly would you want me to do?
He kind of relaxes his stance, puts his arms behind his back, and he turns towards, his whole body turns towards the east, where you can see the sprawl of Icarus One just go out towards the horizon. There's only so much you can achieve operating on the street level, Miss Yin. And a person with your skill sets, I want to elevate the theater in which you operate. Yes, the streets still hold some amount of sway in what needs to be done, but sometimes we need to operate in a slightly more, how does one put this, elevated, more cultured setting, where attacks are not just made with swords and guns, but by words and deeds, through espionage and finding or getting people into compromising situations. And I think you're someone with the right skill set for this.
I do like the sound of all of this. It has been a very long time since I took part in any high society function. 5 years, in fact. It would be refreshing to get back into that kind of lifestyle. I am not opposed to this espionage. I can function without a blade. I can do what you
Excellent.
ask.
And he's looking at you and he, well, I believe you have already taken the first step towards it. You see, the software you brought me, it's perfect. I couldn't have planned it better myself. It is 95% complete, as you say, which means it is almost functional. Not fully functional like the original, but almost. Its purpose is the same. Crack any security measure that someone is using to hide behind. And you have given me an idea, Miss Yin.
Oh?
Yes. The perfect Trojan software. The remaining 5% can be programmed by my organization. Yes, it could crack whatever is put forward, but it could never crack any of our organization's security measures. That's a positive. However, we can also put a backdoor in it. which means whoever uses the software would have inadvertently exposed their networks to us. You see where I'm going with this?
Yes. And she smiles.
Excellent.
Was this your plan all along?
No. The moment you walked in my office tonight and presented the software to me, that's when it all started falling in place. That's when I started seeing the bigger picture. You see, my original intent with the original copy was to provide us with a weapon that we could then infiltrate any network. Now you have a software that we can modify that will pass off as the original. We can use it, we can spread it through Icarus One. People feel that they're empowered. They could try and crack our network, but they would never be able to. We are protected. In turn, whoever uses it have exposed themselves to us. They let the shadow in.
I enjoy that. I am glad that I could be of assistance to your new plan.
That is why, Messian, the moment you walked into that door with that equipment, I knew I could have you work in the organization. There is something about you that I can't put a finger on just yet. You are off the street, but not from the street. There is a certain poise about you that I cannot fathom just yet. But don't tell me. I do like puzzles. And you're something I'm going to solve soon.
Well, I wish you luck in that puzzle, because I still have trouble with it as well.
And I think a fitting monetary transaction for this would be that whatever credits you make off the sale of the Trojan software, you and your contacts can keep it. What do you say to that?
Just kind of thinks for a moment, looking back into the city. So, you would like us to distribute it once it is ready, yes?
Yes. The misinformation and the misdirection right there in one total package.
I am very much in agreement with this plan. Though, as much as I appreciate my contacts, I of course will not tell them about these certain particular facts about it. Just that I decided to keep the software.
Discretion as well is one of your traits, eh, Messian?
Of course.
Excellent. That would be perfect. Another thing, the medallion you have in your hand, it's for you to keep.
She'll look back down at it again, kind of thumbing it. Start over the etchings. Thank you.
You're one of us now. And that will allow you access to certain places, to certain people. Everything will be revealed slowly over time, but you will understand.
Of course. I am at a loss for words, Mr. Sachs. I have not had this kind of appreciation and, well, she kind of trails off again, kind of playing with the medallion in her hand.
It is unfortunate that someone with your level of skill has not been appreciated. My organization, on the other hand, and myself, are people who appreciate people like you, Missy, and professionals with a strong work ethic and loyalty, not to forget discretion. I mean, I'm running out of words at this point, but you get it.
I do, Mr. Sachs, and I am deeply honored to be a part of your organization. I will do whatever you ask and whatever you need of me.
And we in turn will ensure that you are always taken care of, Missy. And we take care of our own, and those we call our own do not have anything to worry about.
I like that very much. She smiles and slips the medallion into her pocket.
Okay. You also said that when you left the his office and came up here, you left the rebreather on the couch, correct?
Mm-hmm. Well, on the table.
On the table, right? Okay.
Yep.
Which means that you have not been taking the drug for some time.
Yep.
Awesome. Can you go ahead and make a physical save?
Okay.
So, as you know, Mr. Sachs is talking to you, and you are taken up and taken by this whole new experience, appreciation from someone who doesn't have to appreciate you, you know, in a city as large as this, to someone as powerful as Mr. Sachs. You could be just a pawn, but there is definitely genuine admiration coming from him. In all of that new emotion, you realize that you left your rebreather mask back in the office, and it has been some time since the last hit. What happens at this point when you realize that your body is now kind of withdrawing? What are the physical symptoms?
So Ian, standing there kind of enjoying the new job opportunity with Mr. Sachs. She kind of starts to feel this almost tightness kind of in her throat, and the headache that she experienced earlier from the lack of the drug in her den, it kind of comes back as a migraine, and she kind of stumbles back slightly as kind of pain and starts basically from like the center of her chest where her lungs are, and takes a few steps back from Mr. Sachs, covering her mouth and coughing. Shit. I have to get downstairs. I left my my mask.
Of course, Miss Yin. And then you can see that as you're kind of trying your best to stay upright and but you still you seem to be almost ready to fall down. He kind of grabs you by your arm and holds your hand. He says, "Steady there, Miss Yin. We'll get back to the office shortly." And he kind of lets you rest on his shoulder as he walks towards the elevator. The elevator is already up at the rooftop because nobody has called it down. He steps in, hits the key to his office. You guys descend. We'll be there shortly, Miss Yin. Do not worry. As soon as you're in his office, he kind of lets go of your hand and your arm and says, "Proceed, Miss Yin. You seem to be in some pain."
And Yin quickly stumbles out of the elevator, kind of beelines it right for her mask. And she grips onto the table as she gets there, almost falling into it and putting it and strapping it back onto her face, hooking it back up to the apparatus, and it's taking a deep breath. And she takes a moment just to breathe with the mask on. She looks over to Mr. Sachs, and it's just kind of embarrassment kind of fills her eyes, and she turns a little bit red. I apologize for that display. Does not happen very often.
He kind of waves his hand, in the air. "No apologies necessary, Miss Yin. We all have weaknesses, and we do what we can to circumvent them."
And Ian will actually kind of rub the hand that he held with her other hand, looking down at the floor. "Yes, but this was very big oversight on my part. I should know my limits with this. I apologize. It won't happen again."
Apology unnecessary, Miss Yin. As I said, sometimes we all overlook things. I gave you incorrect information and my files were a little incorrect about your skill set. And I just told you how powerful my organization is supposed to be. Like I said, we all make mistakes sometimes. It's realizing the mistakes were done and fixing them so that the same one doesn't happen again.
And Ian will approach Mr. Sachs again and give him a very deep bow. "Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Sachs. I promise I will do my best, and I won't let you down."
I know you won't, Miss Yin. I have confidence in you. Give me a couple of days. I will ensure the software is working as per discussed, and I will have someone deliver it to you. And I may provide a few contacts that I know that it should be sold to. You know what I mean. With anybody else, you're free to do as you wish. May I recommend you said something earlier this evening about going after the folks who set the knuckle draggers on us. One of the good things you can do with the software is sell it back to that team. Not the jungle draggers, I know they don't exist thanks to you, but whoever employed them. It would be good to know who their organization is and let this Trojan software do its trick.
I will make sure to secure the deal. I will, of course, most likely do some scouting at this place first to see if I can find the person I'm looking for. But once the software is in my hands, I will make sure to spread it like wildfire throughout the city.
Excellent. Give it different names, call it different things, sell it as different items. Do what you need to do. Misinformation, misdirection, and overall misbehavior.
And Yin nods again. Of course, I will be awaiting contact.
Well, Miss Yin, this has been an enjoyable evening.
And she smiles again under her mask. Her eyes definitely kind of light up. It has been. Thank you.
Good evening, Miss Yin.
Good evening. And with that, Yin will part ways with Mr. Sachs, giving him a look back before she exits the room.
Just before you exit the room, he says, remember, Miss Yin, perspective changes everything.
Of course. Perspective. She nods her head before taking her leave.
With that, as Yin leaves the office and heads out into the street of Icarus 1, the camera zooms out over the city and we are left with it tracking the other members of our group as we bring tonight's session to a close.